Hello and welcome to the New World Review, your source for everything anime and manga, and today we are back to review Arc 4 of this Black Clover business, being the Eye of the Midnight Sun, and I suppose it really was something of a direct sequel to the Royal Capital arc that expands on our big group of bad dudes and dudettes. And in a way, that was really great, but I have a lot more questions than I had before. The first of which is, will you subscribe to the New World Review and like this video in order to let me know if you want more Black Clover stuff? I try not to read the comments of these videos due to fear of spoilers, so that's how I need to run this operation. Now getting into it, as for the premise of the arc, the Clover Kingdom is still reeling from the recent assault on the capital. Questions are being asked, traitors are being posited, and amongst all of this, Asta is taking some well-earned time off, which inevitably leads to some time on, because manga gonna manga as we delve deeper into the Midnight Sun group than I thought we would anytime soon. And probably my favorite thing about the arc is just how damn smoothly it flows. Its events feel very natural and we take a bit more time to let things unfold. I mean, for example, in the previous two arcs, we were very suddenly thrown into things. Asta gets stumped with a mission, then bam, we are straight into action. Whereas with this one, Tabata elected to do the opposite, and Asta was told to do nothing, which was a nice touch to begin, leading with a comedic blind date sort of scenario, which led into meeting all of the kids, as well as Ghosh, which then leads into action to save the kids, which then leads into utter magical madness. It's very simple, but the events of this arc flow very well into one another. Nothing is jarring, and it just keeps building and building to the point where we have what has turned out to be the most intense blind date of all time. And I think what greatly helps with that is that the main group of villains were established in the previous arc, so we didn't have to go through the basic introductory phase, and I must say, I do like the Midnight Sun guys a lot more than I did previously, although maybe it's just these more specific members. And I guess Lix needs to be brought up pretty damn immediately because he is kind of single-handedly responsible for my renewed interest in the group. At first he gives me a super strong Griffith from Berserk sort of vibe, this ornately beautiful existence with overwhelmingly dark intentions, like a perversion of aesthetic. That impression changed pretty rapidly though when Valtos got hurt, and Licht made this absolutely terrifying face that broke his delightful facade, but showing that he legitimately cares for his fellow, I don't really know what to call them, cultist? His fellow cultists? Question mark. Doesn't matter though, because the camaraderie is there, which seems to be a running theme with the Midnight Sun. Even right at the beginning of the arc, the two captured members say something along the lines of, when all others betrayed us, the master did not. We could never repay that with betrayal. And Licht later expands on this by referring to his group as the targets of jealousy, fear, discrimination, persecution, and theft. Which I don't know, does that essentially just make them another incarnation of the Black Bulls? Except that the primary difference would be that the Bulls choose to defy societal standards whilst working within the system, whilst the Eye of the Midnight Sun wants to destroy the system and replace it with their own, more subjectively equal system. I shall call it magical socialism. At least that's the vibe I got. And I do think that Licht is quite a good figurehead of that, although when it comes to their technical goal, I'm still kind of less than convinced, because if I understand correctly, what they need is the magic rocks to put into a bigger magic rock, which will then turn everyone into super mages. Which is a bit meh because I feel like it means we're going to spend a lot of time focused on finding objects that will all inevitably come together in favor of the antagonist anyway, so I don't know, just do it. With that said, it really doesn't matter too much though, because to say I'm hugely invested in the plot of Black Clover right now would be an outright lie. It's all about the characters for me, and speaking of, this arc only reinforced my initial impression of Yami as by far the greatest character in the series. This man is everything. He is a dark magic sword-wielding badass with a phenomenal aspect of humor. In fact, his comedy is what sells me on him the most. Like, I remember there was this particular moment where he was teaching Asta about ki, which is, well, that's something else, but when Asta used it for the first time, Yami was just all like, oh, you actually managed to do it? Creepy. Get away from me. And I obviously can't do the line justice, but I think every second thing Yami said had me laughing. In addition to that, he also has what I consider to be the best drawn action scenes in the series thus far. I love that in many panels, Tabata elects to hide a lot of Yami's face, sometimes showing just a single eye. It takes away a lot of his humanity and really makes him seem like a monster in the dark. And what's even cooler is that Yami is directly equated to the power of the Wizard King, not only by Valtos but also Licht, who states that Yami was the second person with the power to defeat him, which I find strange given that the end of the arc introduces us to 3 other characters whom Licht claims are far superior to him in combat, but it doesn't matter. What matters is Yami. A very obvious and appropriate name for a dark magic user, of course. But Yami also introduces us to a very important, I think, new concept being ki, which I am led to believe is a completely separate system to mana, and in fact I think this was even hinted at during the last arc. In retrospect, Yuno was almost certainly using ki when all of his senses were taken away by the witch woman, right? In terms of what ki actually is though, well, the One Piece fan within me just wants to call it observation haki. It's the same sort of effect, only Asta learnt it roughly 600 chapters before Luffy did. And honestly, I'm not quite sure how to feel about it. I do like it, but I also feel like we haven't quite gotten the hang of basic magic use yet. So introducing introducing a new system on top of that is, well, it's very fast moving. But as for magic, it continues to be expanded upon, and this arc highlights the importance of matchups. I quite like the idea that certain types of magic are hard countered by others in this kind of scissors, paper, rock style system, which is what we call it in Australia. We don't do this rock, paper, scissors nonsense. And it was really cool to see Yami's dark magic interact with Licht's light magic, and, well, oh god. Licht just means light in German, doesn't it? I can't believe it took me until right now, this moment mid-recording, to notice that. So basically in this arc, we had two people fighting whose names were literally Light and Dark. Fantastic. But it was nice to see a sort of tied matchup, Light and Dark countering each other in equal measure, coming equipped with their inherent and polar opposite advantages and disadvantages. Magic is also getting a bit weird though, because there was a part of this arc where the idea of transferring magical power was very, very casually introduced, and apparently absolutely everyone can do it, including young children. Which, I don't know, surely from here on out, the answer to every non-Asta related problem becomes, if you're injured, then immediately funnel your magic into the nearest mage and turn them into a super mage. Which, I guess, is a good segue into Ghosh, our arc-specific Black Bull focus member guy, who is the exact opposite of the more carefree nature we've seen expressed in the other members thus far, which is good. That's very good, actually. It's always nice to see a different exploration, although the sister complex is pretty heavy for me. Then again, I don't have siblings, so I don't quite get that bond, but it does tend to border on the creepier side for me though. However, I do find it quite interesting that the other key player in this story thread is a nun or sister, if you will. So this man is just surrounded by that sister complex at every turn. And just very briefly, god, that nun was incredible. As soon as I saw those scars, I knew she was serious business, and there was a great fun generational aspect to her as well, having been Fuego Leon's teacher and all. But back to Ghosh though, his story was quite satisfying, mostly because his change of heart came directly from his sister. Like, the last thing I wanted was another situation where Asta said a sentence which instantly changed a core personal flaw, like what appeared to happen with Luck. So it was great to see that Ghosh's personal growth came from the one person in the world that he would actually listen to. And what's even better is that after that we saw a great example of a magic knight leveling up in real time, because a new spell appeared in Ghosh's grimoire after he had the realization of working with others. That sort of stuff is really satisfying to me. And Asta had a moment like that as well, actually. There was this part where he quoted Fuego Leon by stating that a magic knight should always keep a cool head. And even though that didn't lead to like a new spell or anything, it shows me that Asta has grown, and that he is now much more prepared to handle the world than he was during the last arc. So good on him. However, when it comes to Asta, there is something that I quite profoundly hate, which is his ever-growing harem. It's getting a bit ridiculous now. When it was Noelle and Mimosa, well, that was one thing, but we now have two other females head over heels in love with Asta, being Rebecca and Marie, the latter of which is very young. And I'd even throw Sally in as well as someone who's certainly obsessed with Asta, albeit on a very different level. And it just kind of sucks. It's by far the worst part of this series, and I feel like it's only going to get worse. I mean, when we have stuff like Noelle dressing up as a maid just to spy on Asta's alleged and non-existent love life, that's very much where I check out of the story for a while. With Asta though, something I do very much like about him is how easy it is to have him involved in conflicts that he really should not be a part of. But he has this perfect excuse with anti-magic because that's such a rare utility that can be used to great effect. Whereas I feel like in many other series it can be quite a struggle to bring the protagonist into battles like this because they really have no business being there. Oh, and we also found out Asta's official rank, which as of right now is Junior Magic Knight 3rd class. Although I maintain he's much closer to an intermediate rank about where Leopold is, but we cannot conflate power with bureaucracy. These ranks are obviously more achievement based than they are power based, so there. It is good to have some sort of solid footing for him though, because now it's only like, what, 17 or 18 more levels to go until we reach the status of Wizard King. Oh, and something I haven't spoken about yet, Licht seems to be quite intimately familiar with Asta's grimoire and his abilities. His swords even have names actually, the Demon Slayer and the Demon Dweller. Sounds quite cool really. Although in the end it turns out that they once belonged to the ever mysterious Master, because while Licht is the leader, there exists an even greater Master who is maybe the actual leader. I don't know, fun. I'm looking forward to exploring that a bit more, maybe. And as for going into things a bit more, these Midnight Sun reinforcement trio guys are quite fascinating, aren't they? Especially the one named Fana, which just happens to be the exact same name of Mars's childhood friend. And so there's absolutely no way that they aren't the same person, right? I would flip every table within a 100-meter radius if Tabata just used the exact same name twice and pretty much the exact same design for no good reason. And Fana would fit in quite rightly with this group's theme, assumedly having been cast aside and devalued by her own kingdom, the evil Diamond Kingdom. Damn diamonds. So that sounds like more good stock for some fun personal conflict in the future with Mr. Diamond himself. But more importantly, she has an adorable salamander, another spirit of the 4 great attributes, quite a terrifying little pet really. The other guy of interest first is Mr. Copy Magic, which I honestly don't remember if his name was stated. If it was, sorry, I just don't remember. Fauna and the other guys' names were, but I like his design quite a bit though. It's sleek, unique, but Tabata has made him, well, like not overly pretty, if that makes sense, which is unique because Tabata does have a habit of creating these very pretty characters. But Mr. Copyman here has this almost underwhelmingly plain face, which oddly enough does make him stand apart in this series of very well sculpted specimens. And at the end of the arc, he is at the center of all of the intrigue, where it is shockingly revealed that he was one of the people present in the captain's meeting. As for which one he was, well, Tabata kind of breaks the fourth wall there and even has the character straight, so which one was me? And at this stage, honestly, I don't know. The obvious guess is the Golden Dawn leader, because I don't understand how anybody, anywhere, at any time can trust that face. But at the same time, is that too obvious? This guy is so damn suspicious that he's making me second guess my own suspicion. At the same time though, I really don't know who else it would be. Maybe one of the miscellaneous captains that we really haven't gotten to know yet, but would that be underwhelming? I don't know though, I've still got my eye on you, William Vengeance, if that is indeed your real name, and if it is, that's also highly suspicious because Vengeance sounds like vengeance, and basically every Midnight Sun cultist in the series seems to be driven by vengeance. But all in all, another solid arc for Black Clover. This is usually the point where I would have dropped a series if I was feeling less than great, and whilst it does have a few flaws, this series continues to hold my interest though with very strong characters, and I look forward to seeing where we end up next. But that pretty much does it for this blind review of the Eye of the Midnight Sun arc. And what do you guys think? Please do leave your thoughts in the comments below or even join my Discord server. And if you are keen for some more Black Clover content, then please do go and check out some of my other videos or even subscribe to the channel for very maybe Black Clover goodness delivered straight into your YouTube feed. But for now, this has been the New World Review, and I'll see you next time.